In the near future in the city of Moscow, Oleg and Alyona are on a date. During their conversation, Oleg describes himself as a soldier taking a 2-week break. The date is successful, and they decide to stay together the entire night. In the meantime, a jet is ready to touch down in Paris when all of a sudden its lights go out and everyone on board passes out. Soon, the entire planet loses power, leaving only a small portion of Eastern Europe with light. Oleg and Alyona run to the hotel lobby to find out what's going on. After noticing that the drones flying around Moscow freeze in mid-air, to hear the news, everyone in the building has gathered there, while initially believing it to be a terrorist strike. The anchorman informs that this was not a result of any natural disaster and that they have now realized they have lost touch with the rest of the globe. One of the numerous cities that is currently in darkness is Kirov, and a troop of soldiers under Mayor Dolmatov are sent there on a recon mission. Olga, a journalist, travels with them to document any leads they might come upon. Although the government has already launched drones into this region, none of them have returned. The crew explores the city before entering a store, where they utilize special slime lights. To get a better look, they find that everyone inside the store is dead, including the cashier, the bowl of fish. They are unable to help, but wonder how everyone killed, because there are no signs of an attack. It appears to have happened suddenly and out of the blue. Then they start looking inside various apartments, where they discover everything to be in its proper place and as if nothing had happened. Once more, it appears as though everything happened in an instant, and that the people simply disappeared. One of the troops is abruptly attacked by an unknown entity. As the rest of the team comes to aid him, the being grabs the soldier's weapon and flees out the window. As soon as he notices them, the crew fires right away, but the entity flees. As if unaffected by the gunfire, they ask the wounded soldier if he noticed the face of his assailant on the way to their plane, but the darkness and the battle made it difficult for him to see anything. After a month, the administration tries to reassure the people, who are still alive, that more than 100 million Russians are dead. Religious organizations are assembling, though, as they believe the world is about to end. Yura, a common civilian, receives a letter inviting him to enlist in the army. In the meantime, Yura enters the army. Despite his pain at leaving his Alzheimer's-stricken mother behind, who he stays with, he heads to the base, and he observes the status of the world. Because it just took a month for the streets to appear post-apocalyptic, Yura eventually joins Oleg's team. After Dolmatov and Colonel Marina brief them on the current circumstances, the only cities with electricity are Moscow, sections of Belarus, Ukraine, and Finland. This region is referred to as the Circle of Life, and every other city is thought to be under quarantine. Endogenous neurotoxins, which are substances produced by the human body, were the cause of death in several cases. When retcon teams returned with bodies, the two tasks for the new teams are discover hints that will help the experts determine the reason Moscow is running out on supplies. Therefore it's time to amass more resources behind these neurotoxins and to venture further into the quarantine zone. They must exercise caution, since despite having tanks to defend them, several of the squads, as they have already sent, have not returned. More volunteers show up, while everyone is getting ready, and Oleg is shocked to find Alyona among them. An alarm warning of an impending attack suddenly sounds. Soldiers gather near the base's boundary with the quarantine zone. Since it appears that a large enemy group is approaching, the power goes out at the base. At that precise moment, Dolmatov starts firing flares to get a better picture, and when the troops start firing when the odd creatures get close enough, Oleg loses consciousness, as several of these creatures manage to enter the base and start attacking everyone they come across. After that, Oleg awakens in the morning, weighed down by a dead foe. Oleg can now see that the weird being was actually a sizable bear. Once Yura sees he's still alive and requests assistance moving the body. In fact, there are numerous bear bodies on the opposite side of the border, and no one knows why they acted in such a hostile manner. Olga is also present and is documenting everything for the news. When Oleg is brought to the hospital, he is shocked to hear that Alyona is a doctor. She tends to his wounds and helps him feel better when pain. She gives him a kiss of consolation. In the meantime, Marina and Dolmatov talk about the sensors, a group of people who are said to have acquired special abilities. Following the blackout, unlike superheroes, sensors can truly receive data in their heads like radios can. As Marina explains, they haven't been able to understand the data or how this occurred, though. The most potent, Sasha, who is detained in a military hospital, is the sensor. He has been having frequent dreams about a mysterious bald man ever since the blackout. Zhenya, who claims to have been sent by him, pays him a visit today. ID was the person. He says that the first wave wiped out all electronics, the second caused all living things to begin self-destructing, and the third wave will cause anyone left alive in the quarantine zone to start attacking them. They are many and have lost their ability to exercise free will, but they still have time to do so. Sasha asks for security, since she doesn't want to be involved in this, but the troops are unable to see Zhenya, and inform the doctor that Sasha is hallucinating. The remaining warriors prepare for the task. Olga ends up accompanying Yura on their journey, and she quizzes him in front of the camera. Yura acknowledges that the current circumstance doesn't bother him, because it's given him, it gives life significance and is preferable to driving a cab. When they get at the quarantine area, they find the tanks destroyed on the ground, and a chasm that cuts through the structures, indicating that the third wave has already started. The footage of this damage sends the city's remaining people into a panic, sparking riots and a rise in crime. People suspect their leaders are hiding something, despite the government's assurances that they are working on it. To cover greater terrain, the soldiers are separated into groups. Group 7 includes Yura and Olga, and as they move through the woods, a flirtatious tension develops between them. Oleg, who has been found, joins Team 4 as they explore a small town. A group of metal bars fell on top of one of the soldiers when he opened a storage room, breaking his leg. The group chooses to take it easy inside a house, until help arrives. Alyona arrives the following morning and declares that, if he wants to keep his leg, the soldier must travel back to Moscow with her. Also, Group 7, Yura detects something strange about a store. While they are eating breakfast, after spending the night inside an apartment, he confirms that the doors weren't opened when they arrived by checking Olga's tape. After entering the business and seeing proof that someone was there, Yura and a few troops decide to set up some traps. When night falls, the traps don't go off, so they go back to the flat to wait for that to happen. Everyone gets ready to go, but Yura instructs Olga to stay inside and uses flares to signal for assistance if they don't return. Olga ultimately defies Yura's orders and continues to follow the squad in order to take notes. Within the shop, they discover a teen victim of one of the traps. They try to help him by bringing him inside the flat, but the child responds by taking a knife and murdering a soldier. The others shot him down right away in response. In the meantime, Sasha goes to the hospital roof for some fresh air and is abruptly shocked by ID, the man Zhenya informed him about. Zhenya and ID had only been connected mentally, but ID is now present and needs Sasha's assistance. In order to convince it that he is aware of what is happening, he displays his look makes it clear he isn't a person. Marina then arrives with a number of soldiers. They are all pointing their firearms at ID, when all of a sudden they start shooting Marina. ID warns her not to try anything, since he utilized his mental abilities to make the soldiers mistakenly believe she was ID and he was Marina. He also professes to be on Marina's side and warns her that he and millions of others are on their way to annihilate humanity. ID responds that people would view him as a god. When Marina inquires as to what he is, ID is taken to Marina's office, where she questions him. ID states that he intended to begin an irradiation procedure when the moon was over the oceans, but he was mistaken, because the moon was covering this area of Europe, therefore it provided radiation protection for it. Since everyone in the quarantine zone is only a mindless drone that will eventually launch an attack, that is how the circle of life came to be. The reason the ID species wants Earth is that their own star is soon to expire, and they need a new home with a sun to live in. Then he discloses that there was a wave 0 that occurred thousands of years ago. This wave was the human species, which was actually an extraterrestrial bioweapon sent to wipe out Earth's natural inhabitants. Because they were considerably more advanced than the current native population, they were the ones who constructed the pyramids and underwater cities. Because they are colonizers and destroyers and have a lot of DNA in common with other species, humans are the ideal bioweapon, similar to its people, but without any psychic ability. Some others, like Sasha, are experiencing them returning as a result of the unplanned radiation. ID's brother Ra is already here, but an army from ID's planet will arrive tomorrow. ID disagrees with his tactics and seeks him out, but only Sasha is aware of his whereabouts. Thanks to his dreams, all the teams are suddenly ambushed by mind-controlled people. In the interim, the enemy arrives in large numbers and fights back with ease, killing the majority of the teams and forcing them to flee, while the troops begin fire and do their best to build a line of defense of ammunition. Yura urges Olga to fire the flare when the flat they're hiding in goes up, but because most teams are acting in the same way, there aren't enough resources to assist everyone. The few members of Group 7 who are still alive will currently wait on a building's roof, so they are safe from the assailants. A message warning Marina of the attack interrupts her talk with ID, and it would point out that they are idling their time. As Zhenya and Sasha fly to the base with the two of them, ID explains that he is eternal as long as no one chooses to murder him. Sasha is thrown into a stupor when they arrive at the facility by ID, and he manages to draw the site of Ra, which is a Kirov skyscraper. ID wants to activate the remaining tropes right away, but Dolmatov is unsure whether to believe him after seeing ID's appearance. As soon as a soldier informs that Moscow is also under attack, Marina persuades Dolmatov that ID is their only hope. Returning to Group 7, they make the decision to descend the structure, in an effort to locate the teams that failed to send any flares. Yura kisses Olga to calm her down and carefully lowers her since she is scared to try they locate a few citizens while strolling around the streets, and they are killed. Before even speaking with them, they appear to be in good health, which upsets Olga, but Yura tells her. The teenager first appeared to be in good spirits. A fresh wave of drone people attack them, as if to support his argument. All the other soldiers are killed, but Yura is able to repel the assailants despite suffering injuries. They take care of Yura's wound and locate a car with petrol and keys that they can use to flee as they run to hide inside a garage. Sasha admits at the base that he is afraid to leave, since he believes Ra saw him in the vision, and ID agrees to let him stay behind for his safety. Marina sees Sasha as Dolmatov's squad departs and the tanks is missing, which causes everyone to pause. The base is then attacked by a barrage of rockets, which causes it to explode. ID acknowledges that Marina is correct, as she holds a gun at him in a fit of rage. The crew would have perished, instead, and the war would not have been won if Sasha had been with them. Oleg and Alyona are located by Yura and Olga the following morning. There aren't many people left in their team, and they are out of ammunition, fortunately. Dolmatov's crew comes across them shortly after and invites them to join the effort to assassinate Ra. Olga and Alyona will need to accompany us, because there isn't a base where we can send them. The team reaches Kirov after a number of hours. Dolmatov finds it odd that they aren't. ID explains that Ra believes he perished in the base. After being attacked, the drone humans are blocking the streets, and some of them are launching bombs from above. The army just advances with the tanks, shooting or destroying any adversaries who attempt to stop them. When they reach the skyscraper, ID takes Yura and a few men up to the rooftop, while the rest of the group defends the entry by remaining there. Oleg brings the people upstairs as well, because they are unsure how long they would be able to keep up with the fight, which is very savage. ID and the soldiers confront any intruders inside, before meeting Ra on the rooftop. And Alyona and Marina object how it employs people. Zhenya assaults ID with a knife, when he claims to be the god people deserve, but I would utilize his abilities to have him kill Marina instead. Furious, Oleg tries to attack ID as well, but Yura defends him by saying that ID is their sole defense against the approaching invasion. When Olga sees that Yura is beating Oleg up during the fight, she pulls a revolver and shoots Yura to put an end to it. Zhenya tries to kill it once more, but ID successfully repel him. Oleg considers killing Yura but decides to shoot ID instead. Although the shots have no effect, Oleg is made to believe that everyone is his father by ID using his supernatural abilities to hesitate. Zhenya, who is a sensor, is able to identify the genuine ID, and jumps to pull him down with him. Upon touching the Earth, they both instantly pass away. A massive spacecraft makes an immediate landing on a number of structures. Oleg refuses to kill Yura and instead takes the gadget. ID grabbed from Ra and the women. The group enters the spaceship, after collecting some weapons from dead bodies. The spaceship had opened the door, because Ra was nearby. Numerous aliens are sleeping in pods inside, and when Oleg presses the device, oxygen begins to be delivered to the pods. He believed they should have been awakened by Ra, and the pod's timer indicates they will be prepared shortly. However, they don't have enough ammo or time to kill them all. They try shooting at them and confirm that it does kill them. Olga sees that the oxygen pipes are on the ground. Destroying one of them results in the simultaneous death of numerous aliens. The invasion is effectively stopped. When the trio starts breaking every pipe they can, Alyona freezes as she is ready to burn the final pipe, when she finds that these final pods contain infants. When Oleg notices the children leave the pods, he drops his weapon to the ground, since he is unable to harm the children's fellow beings. The end. If you like this story, please subscribe to the channel and like it, to motivate me to bring you more stories like this.